What's going on, guys? Hey, welcome to another episode of Learning from the Experts. I am actually going to do something a little bit different today. I was just recently interviewed by a good buddy of mine named Pierre, and he actually brought out a bit of my story. And so I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea to get that interview from him and then drop it in here on the podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and cut over to the intro, and then it'll go over to the interview with Pierre and kind of go from there. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. And as always, feel free to reach out. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a review. And if you guys have questions as well, go ahead and post those in your review or wherever you may like, or wherever you can reach me at. So hopefully you guys enjoy this interview.
So here's the deal. I know how frustrating it is to waste countless hours sifting through wannabe experts who never actually helped me in the end. Then to learn years later that there was a real expert who could have helped me 100 times faster than learning on my own. I have created this podcast to save you time and money while taking you on a journey with me as I learn from real experts who can actually help you grow your business. My name is Coulton Woods, and you're listening to Learning from the Experts.
Well, welcome, Coulton.
Dude, thanks for having me, brother.
Coulton, esteem is actually, if I can give, a few seconds background, probably the people who pushed me the most to actually get started on Retailer Secrets. So it's a big honor to have you on as a first guest.
Dude, I didn't know I was the one that pushed you the most. That's pretty good.
Well, I guess the past few months, we've had the chance to cross path a few times, and increasingly in the last few weeks too. So I take it as a sign, and such a thrill, man, to have you on and being able to spend some good quality time with you.
Yeah, dude, I'm super stoked for this. Thanks a ton for having me.
Yeah, totally. Actually, when I met you first at the conference, it was back in February, I think. One of the things I messaged you, I was like, dude, I want to hear your story, man.
That's true. You did, huh?
I never thought it would actually happen in a podcast interview. So, I thought it would be, it could be actually great to start with kind of, your backstory of how you got started in retail or what got you to start there, kind of like the context of what happened that you decided to go in the retail.
Dude, I love it. And I love that honestly, I love your podcast cover too, like the Retail Secrets. I was like, bro, it looks so good. Like,
thank you.
I'm killing it. So how did I get started? Honestly, it's kind of a crazy story. I was in college, and it was kind of weird being in college because I was a bit more of an entrepreneur, and college was more like follow these, rules and guidelines and do this and that. And then I just happened to get one class from a teacher who was actually an entrepreneur too. So it was like fate brought us together, like,
yeah.
And I had been thinking so much on like a business that I'd wanted to start. And I mean, this was like my freshman, maybe sophomore year of college. Like I'm ready to go, like I'm taking all these classes that have nothing to do with like business. And this was like my first one, that was like actually like kind of like business, like tied in and related. And it just so happens that this was the teacher's like first class he'd ever taught. And he's like, he has his own business that he's running on the side. So I think I kind of got lucky with that because he wasn't straight textbook. He was more entrepreneurial.
That is rare.
Yeah, it's very rare actually.
Yeah.
I was pretty lucky to have that happen. And the whole premise of the class was actually to start a business online. And I'm like,
okay,
wow, like that's a big step. I know nothing about online business, like I'm just, like barely starting a business alone, and he kind of let me slip with actually starting a business more of like locally instead of having to go straight online. But it was
okay.
It'd create kind of like a WordPress, very basic site, like something
Like,
that
was it a choice of yours to actually wanting to do something more local than online based?
Yeah, because I had no idea how to do anything online at the point.
Right.
Like at that time, online was just so foreign to me. Like I knew the potential of it and knew the stuff, but I didn't understand like how far I could go with it. So I'm like, I'm gonna start locally, small, and then grow it to online. That was my
Right.
goal, right?
Yeah.
And so, what, I wasn't even planning on sharing this story, but I'm walking around campus trying to figure out this business idea. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking through all these things. I literally was thinking about doing like biodiesel at one time. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like
I,
you
no.
go collect like the fryer grease from like McDonald's and all those places,
Okay.
and then you refine it into like diesel. Anyway. So I was trying to just think of something, like anything I could do. And I was walking around and I pull out my phone from my pocket, and it was back then when like iPhone 4 was like the thing,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if, like those things are straight glass, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I pull it out of my pocket and it literally like flies out of my pocket, just like is soaring through the air. Just like I just like chucked it, like just
Those
threw it
slow
out.
motion moments.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't even know how it happened, but like for some reason, like it caught my pocket and just all I remember is seeing it fly through the air, totally just slow motion. And it just smashes, dude. Just slides across the cement. And it's like icy out too, so
Yeah.
it slid extra long. And it didn't even like roll. Like it literally landed like face down and just slid. And I'm like, there's no way that thing made it. Like there's no way that it is okay. And I've had some pretty lucky drops in the past, but
That was not it.
no, sure enough, dude, I pull it up and it is just completely demolished, like just shattered all the way across. And I'm like, you know what? I like to fix my own things. I like to understand how things work. And so
Yeah.
when I see an opportunity to like see how it works, I'm all over it, dude. Like, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull this apart and see if I can fix it. Why not?
Yeah.
And so I bought the screen, I bought like some tools with it, some cheap stuff. And it shows up, and sure enough, dude, like 2 hours later, I've got it fixed. And it was working
Damn.
great, So I'm like,
Yeah.
sweetness, And then like it was literally that week that I had to have like this business idea 100% down. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what if I just start fixing phones for people? Like I can do it, like I did it to my own. I can do it for other people,
Totally.
So that was my business plan, like my business idea. And I kind of wrote up the plan a little bit, and I ordered some inventory, some stock, and
Yeah.
had a few screens on hand. And my teacher happened to have like a marketing agency that would send out text messages locally as well.
Okay.
And he's like, bro, I'll throw it on there for you. Like, do a deal. And so I came up with this deal, started marketing it through his text messaging thing. He gave me like one free one, And sure enough, I got like 5 customers off the first one.
Oh,
And
damn.
like,
Okay.
yeah, dude, I was like, sweet, And it's funny. The first guy I ever fixed something for, he was like a lifetime customer. I probably fixed 20 of his
Oh, yeah,
things.
really?
He was breaking them all the time. It's kind of funny, but dude, I was so nervous the first time. I'm like pulling apart this phone in front of this guy, dude. And he's like watching me do it. I'm like, this is like the second time I've ever done this,
But you can
So
say
I'm like
that.
pulling it apart, and like it took me a while, and I got it back together and it was fixed and working for him. He was all excited. So that's kind of like how I started.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of took off from there a little bit. And I worked on it as I went through, as I went through the semester. But you're asking about like retail. Well, that's where I started.
Yeah.
2 years, I think it was 2 years later, 1.5 or 2 later. I had a buddy of mine come to me and he's like, bro, I want to partner with you and like make this big.
Okay.
I was like, all right, dude. Cause I literally by that time, every night had 1 or 2 people coming by and I was fixing stuff for them. And I literally had my own home office, like all this stuff, all this tech, all
Boxes everywhere.
Yeah, it was bad. Like it was total man cave, like just stuff everywhere. And so I'm like, you know what? Yeah, totally. Like, he was an awesome guy. I really respected him. And we opened up a shop together and while going to college, had our own like retail store. And sure enough, we were fixing phones, we were selling phones, we were selling
That is
like
awesome.
cases, different things.
How did that feel?
Dude, it was awesome, man. It was amazing. Like, there's no better feeling than walking into your own business. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, for sure.
you know what I mean? Like, I built this, you know?
Yeah. And you were younger too, right? So it must
Yeah,
have
I
felt
mean,
like you're the man.
exactly. Yeah. Honestly, like, I got out of it like 4 years ago. I think it was like 4 years ago. Yeah. So I haven't been out of it for too long, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Really
that's
cool.
kind of like how I got started and how I kind of got into it a little bit. So
And did you have like any like I guess desire, kind of hidden desire when you started, apart from, you know, being a school project, or like what did you expect like for it to be, you know, when you started?
ooh.
Or I guess what's the drawing you had in your head?
Yeah, that's funny because I think a lot of people will like kind of dabble in something and start it, and then do a few things and like, it's not really working as well, or it's not going as far as I'd like it to be,
Yeah.
and kind of give up at that point. And for me, I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep at this, and I want to make it big enough to where I'm in my own place.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it took a year and a half ish to get there.
Yeah.
But I was going to school full time at the same time. And when I first started, I was also like doing a part-time job on top of it. So I don't even know how I did it, but I did.
That's awesome.
But like my idea was, I want to make this something, and I don't want to just start one business and then you know keep starting another one and not get anywhere. I want to actually make it something where I can go with it, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that helped a
Yeah.
lot too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And I'm assuming that when you start and you know at that age and you have to like you got like an actual place, like an actual store where people walked in, and like I'm assuming it's a lot of pressure too, and like probably some like doubts, a lot of doubts coming, a lot of like kind of struggles with juggling with everything you're doing on the side. Like how did you deal with that, you know?
Dude, that's a that's a great question, man. It was definitely stressful at times. It was definitely hard. Even in the beginning when I'm putting so much time into it, and my wife's kind of wondering if it's going to go anywhere farther, and
Yeah,
uh, and and I'm like, totally, like it's going to make it huge, and I really don't know,
for
um,
sure.
but like it definitely can be more of a stress than you can let it be. How do I phrase that better? You can focus on the negative parts of it and
Yeah,
be really stressed about it, or you can plan out what you need to be getting done, what you need to have on hand for cash, and kind of plan around it, and go around a lot of those stresses that you're going to bring upon yourself if you don't.
yeah,
um, and so honestly, like, the way I got around it is we knew what we needed. We knew what we could spend,
yeah,
and we knew what we wanted, or what we needed to put into marketing different things to go, bigger.
yeah.
And so that helped a lot, but still there was plenty of times where it was stressful, but I loved the heck out of it doing it, like it was just so fun that it almost took away a lot of that stress. So
Yeah, for sure. So it seems like you had a game plan already. Like
yeah,
you had an idea how it would work. You knew where you wanted to take it. Um, like how far from like how far the reality was from that game plan though.
oh dude. It's funny, us entrepreneurs, a lot of times we'll kind of think of something like, I can accomplish this in this much time, like this amount of time.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like every time I say that, it's never ever anywhere close to that. Like, uh, and actually, I was listening to Grant Cardone the other day,
yeah,
and he's like, guys, you need to like 10x that time. A lot of times, like, you
yeah,
need to be able to plan for being able to like stay in business for 10 times longer than what you think you're going to be like getting, return on investment. Um,
Totally.
and I totally believe it. Like it took us a lot longer to be revenue positive, like a
Yeah.
good revenue positive after, paying for the store, paying for the parts, paying for, wages and salaries, that kind of stuff. It took us a while longer than we expected, but
Yeah.
like we planned it out pretty well, and we had to skim at first for a while,
Right.
but that's, yeah. So just make sure that you're not planning on, or like whatever time you think it's going to take,
10x that.
make sure you have a little bit of leeway on top of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's going to help a ton. That'll reduce the stress a lot for sure.
Yeah. And I think like everybody can relate so much to that, because and business owners and entrepreneurs in general, like we want things to happen so fast. It is
Uh-huh.
so frustrating how to see, I guess, at the beginning how things actually take so much time, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the little activities need to happen again and again and then
Yeah.
again before it actually starts to form into something that you can see grow, right?
Yep.
Um,
And one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make too is they expect everybody else on their team to be just like them, to be as like married to it as they are. And it's
right.
just going to happen. Like that's not the way the world works, And
Yeah.
yeah, you can do some different stuff there. So
Is there, was that one of the real first challenge that you faced?
you know what? Funny enough, I didn't quite expect. I feel like I had seen it enough in other people. I knew that it wasn't quite like, it was more of a dream than reality for a lot of
Yeah.
entrepreneurs to like hire somebody that's just going to be awesome and amazing. And I feel
Yeah.
like my business partner was awesome. The guy that we had working for us, this like younger kid in college as well, he was awesome. Like we got lucky with him. But honestly, like they're not going to know nearly as much as you. They're not going to be as invested. And I understood that before then. And so I think it helped a ton knowing
Yeah.
that, hey, he's going to be good, but, or like he may be really good, but honestly, you got to account for him not knowing nearly as much as you do. So,
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah. And, I think definitely partnerships are hard.
It,
But
it,
the
it
expectations you have in people is actually, it is pretty insane, I think, for everybody. Um,
makes
how
or
do you,
breaks.
how do you adjust though? Like from this,
How do you adjust from like expectations of those around you?
Yeah.
Is that what
As you
yeah.
grow, as a starter, I guess, when you just start and you're, I guess, disappointed or just raging because it doesn't, people are not putting in the same amount of work as you do, right?
Yeah. You know, what's funny is, I've always been a little bit more of a laid back kind of chill guy. And
Yeah.
so man, so that like for me, like I knew not to go in with too many expectations.
Yeah.
But you are going to have those times where it's like, come on, people, like you seriously didn't catch this, like that's easy. And it is easy to you.
Yeah.
But like communication's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's a lack of the communications. It's a lot of times it's your own fault that happened because you didn't put the time into training. You were too busy doing what you thought only you can do. I
Yeah.
see that one a ton with, entrepreneurs like, oh, I'm like the best at this. Nobody else can do it like I can.
Right.
Actually, like, yeah.
Actually, a lot of people can.
People can take things off your plate that you didn't think they could, but you
Yeah.
feel that way. And honestly, like the biggest thing that I saw too was showing, in a way, like showing the gratitude for what they're doing. Because a lot of times I've seen it happen so many times with entrepreneurs, like they're always upset with everybody that they work with because nobody's doing what they wanted them to do or as working as hard as they wanted them to.
Yeah.
And so they're just mad about it. Well, like first off, when you understand like the expectations, it's different. But when you work with them and you communicate and you're like you're being grateful for what they are doing, it
Yeah.
changes the whole scene. Now they don't see you as a dictator. They see you as somebody they can actually work with. And then a lot of times they're happier, which means they get more done too.
Yeah.
But too many entrepreneurs are just stressed out of their minds, stressing about everything else that's going on instead of thinking about what's actually going good for them.
Yeah.
So
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And just for context, at this point, so you were in business for 4 years, about 4 years, you said? Or did you?
I think
stop 4 years ago?
I stopped about 4 years. I think it was 4 years ago. Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I had been in business at about a year and a half before we got the store, and then we had it for about a year after that before I sold it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it wasn't. Yeah.
So the ending is you sold it though. Okay, well, let's not spoil it though. We'll get there. But you know what I'm curious about, and this is a very selfish interview, by the way. Like, I'm really trying to just get in your head and trying to figure out, you know, exactly like what happened, how it felt, and all of this, and all the questions I asked is just, I'm really trying to put some traits around the person, right? And I'm sure around the experience as well. Like, when you got the store, I'm assuming it's when things picked up a bit, both for the good stuff and the bad stuff, right? Like, are there any challenges that you faced that you actually didn't expect at all that would ever be a thing?
You know, plenty actually.
All of them.
I thought that it would be easier to stock the retail place. Buy inventory in the first place.
Right.
And holy cow, it was a huge investment up front just for the inventory that we did get. And then the management system, trying to manage what you sold and how to like reorder. I thought that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Keeping track of everything. And then also like the stock that I had in the back, like the parts. I will tell you, I learned a ton about what not to do.
And there's small parts too.
Yeah, like there's a ton of small parts.
Yeah.
We had way too many of some stuff and then not enough of other things. And one thing that I did that I really wish I would not have done this, but I did it because I thought I was smart at the time.
Yeah.
Every time we'd get like a new phone, like screen or, you know, so like a new phone would come in that had parts that we didn't have on hand, I would order 2 of them. So I would price it so that I could buy 2 parts and make money.
Okay.
So like I wanted to make a little bit of money and be able to pay for 2 parts.
Yeah.
And then, so that means after I would fix the phone, I'd make a little bit of money and I'd have an extra part still on hand.
Mm-hmm.
Smart, right?
Totally.
Now, dude, I had so many stupid parts in there that I didn't use for months, dude. Like months. And they were just laying on the shelf and like just depreciating in value, just going down and going down and going down. And then you don't want to turn around and resell it because that takes a lot of time to like get all the pictures, like type out the listings, put it on like eBay or wherever it's at, and then try to resell it. And then you got to ship it out. Like it's just annoying.
Yeah.
And so I had all of these parts that were just like garbage essentially at the end, and what I didn't realize was most people were okay with waiting a few days for the part to come in. Like, hey, you have a specialty phone. We don't have the part in here.
Yeah.
I will order it right now. Let's get you to pay for it. And then it'll be here in a few days. I'll give you a call.
Right.
Holy cow. When we started, like, it's funny, I probably shouldn't go too far, but the guy I sold it to, I ended up, we like kind of sold it to him, and then I like transitioned into working for him to like become a general manager and like different things in that area and like help him open up more. So it's kind of, it was interesting, but I learned a lot from that too. That was definitely a learning experience. But like his system, when I saw it, I was like, bro, this is way better than the system I had. Like they didn't buy any extra stupid parts. They knew like, okay, keep this many on hand of this, and this. And I'm like, I would just like figure out like, oh, maybe I need, back when I was running on myself, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just buy a few more because that's probably what I need to have on hand, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is so much more simplified, so much better. and the profits were way higher because of it, you know? So.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, and it makes total sense that I guess looking backwards, you think, oh, you need to look at what the sales actually, or what people in majority need. And that's what you need to invest more in. And the rest is like, I'm sure they can wait a bit.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just trying to, you know, stock up so I could have stuff in stock for them, and then
Yeah.
just a
How,
nightmare.
how did you deal with like splitting budget? Did you find like finding customers was an easy thing for you, or like did you invest a lot for acquiring customer?
Well, I mean, initially I put some money into ads,
Yeah.
and it was more of like that local marketing through the text messages. I think I did some Google AdWords, and I was like, this is dumb. I'm just wasting money.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, for local businesses, a lot of times it is, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And then what's funny is that it grew pretty fast actually by word of mouth. But not just that, like I had a strategy for getting more word of mouths, like
Okay.
that I
Viral.
would actually, in a way, yeah. So we would do competitions. We would actually have people post like their pictures of their broken phone and see like who had the worst phone. And then like get as many people as you can to like it, and the one with the most likes wins. And so we'd have people just flooding into our Facebook group, going crazy, you know, dropping all these things because they want a free fix. You know, we told them the winner gets a free phone repair, you know.
That is brilliant.
And you know what's funny is like we had a Facebook group, and I think I had like 100 people in there, and we did one competition, and at the end of it we had like 800 people on it. Like it was just like,
Wow.
bam, like instantly, you know.
How to get all the students in one spot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then like it spread too. And then people were like, bro, check out this phone. Like it's totally demolished, you know? And so like it was fun to see.
Yeah.
So that was like one thing that we would do. We'd pay in the parts, but honestly it was really cheap.
Yeah.
Because I mean, granted we lost out on a sale, but who knows if they would have actually came in and got it repaired themselves. But then other people that had broken phones knew where to go now.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But then
Definitely.
yeah. So that was one of our kind of strategies that we do. And then another one that I do that was my favorite was I was kind of a little bit of like the monopoly in town. First off, because people like, I knew a lot of like kind of the big wigs in the town because I worked around it pretty good. And so I'd become friends with a lot of them. And as like new people would come in, they'd be like, don't go to that guy. This is your dude, you know, like this is the guy you need to go to. So I kind of had that reputation as well, which was cool. But the most favorite thing I do that really worked very well is I would literally walk into Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, all of like the cell phone places, all of the cell phone stores, like the computer place, whatever it may be that were around me. I'd walk in with like a 12-pack of Mountain Dew, a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper, and like another 12-pack of Coke, you know? And I'd be like, whoa, yo, what's up, guys? Like, hey, I got some, like, I just thought I'd come over, introduce myself. I got some pop for you guys. I ordered some pizza. Like, hopefully you guys didn't eat yet. Like, I got some pizza for you guys for lunch.
Damn.
Just wanted to come introduce myself and like give you guys some snacks and, or, you know, some pop and some pizza and stuff. And if you guys ever got anybody that's got a broken phone, you want to, you know, if you need somewhere to send them, like I'd love to help out. So I'm just kind of here for you, but here's some pop, here's all this. And like, I'd be friends with all these guys.
That is smart.
And then they're like, holy cow, this dude's bringing us like pop, soda, like pizza, like, and I do parties too. Like I'd bring them all in and like, just, you know, whatever. And pretty soon, like that one move, I had every store in town referring to me and like me only.
Wow.
And they loved me because I gave them like what they wanted, you know, like and it's cheap, bro. Like some pizza and pop, like I'd spend like $30 maybe, you know?
Yeah.
And then now all of them are sending all their traffic over to me. And dude, that actually blew us up pretty quick, which is pretty sweet. So
yeah, I guess you figured out quickly where to go to get the biggest return on investment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, this compared to bidding on keywords one by one
Oh,
click, I mean, that is
yeah.
definitely something.
There's no personality in keywords, man. Like there's
Yeah.
no personality. And
And
then when
you're a
you're,
local business.
yeah. Now online, it's different. And I still don't believe in AdWords, I'm going to say, for online stuff, but you have to have the publishing part and the attractive character part
Yeah.
for what you're doing. And that's the key. So,
Yeah. And that's actually a great point. It doesn't, I mean, in the new world of entrepreneurship online, we talk a lot about those things, but it's actually true for offline too. I
yeah.
mean, you
Yep.
are the attractive character online or offline in real life.
Exactly.
Like, we actually don't think about this, but you are like in real life,
It's
and you should.
true.
Yeah.
And a lot of online strategies like the Dream 100 that I was
Yeah.
doing for these, stores around me,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those online strategies you can use as well for,
Yeah.
um,
And Dream 100 is, to give a bit of context, is definitely something we actually will touch on a lot in this podcast. But essentially, it's playing around with influencers in your space. And if you're a local business, it's got to be the other businesses around you. It's got to be the people who knows your customer. You know, they don't necessarily are, competitors. It can be a lot of different types. The schools. I mean, we'll talk a lot more about this. This is really powerful stuff.
huge, huge. That made
Yeah.
my business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's what fueled your business.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what, I guess, allowed you to make mistakes with ordering too many parts,
Yeah, exactly. And
right?
I tracked that. I'd ask people, how'd you hear about us? And a
Yeah.
lot of times it was, I was down at the Verizon store, and they were like, you got to go to this dude. Like, he's the
Yeah.
one in town that's the best. So, yeah.
That's actually so interesting. And I'm thinking of a lot of questions that actually are a little bit ahead of this thing, but so I'm sure we'll come back a bit to this because this is so
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But one other thing I think, every time I talk to business owners, at
Mhm.
one point in the conversation, they tell me about something that drives them nuts, and I find it just hilarious because the fact when you deal with people a lot, you've got to be like driven nuts so many times, and I wonder what it was for you or for your partners. Something that nuts.
Oh, what's funny is there's always something specific in each industry that people do repeatedly that's like, why? Like, how do you not get this?
Yeah.
What's funny for me, like it kind of drove me nuts, but I also like laughed at it at the same time. I don't know how many people would come in and literally be like, I don't know what's wrong with my phone. It just died. Like, it's dead. Like, it's like it won't do anything,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Let me look at it,
Yeah.
And I would literally like plug it in and turn on. Like, literally, like people would come in and like, or I do a hard reset, which is literally like, most people know how to do that. You just hold down like the home button and the top button,
Yeah.
and it resets it, and I would do that like multiple times a day almost. Like, it was sad how many times I would have
Wow.
to do that. Like, people would come in, and then like for like a lot of the Android phones, like it just died. I'd pull the battery out and put it back in and turn it on, like all the time. And so like people come in, you're like, great, another customer. Nope, they
Yeah.
just don't know how to use their phone, like.
Yeah. And
So,
what's funny is it's totally the friendly neighbor type of thing to do, because like
oh yeah.
for many people, I mean, businesses build the community we live in, right? They're our neighbors, and you've got to play that game too, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
part of building a nice place we all live in.
Yep. And what's funny is some people will try to capitalize on that. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, something's wrong with your phone or whatever. Like, let me go look at it. Oh, that's like $50, for like me having to,
Right.
or whatever. And sometimes like I'd clean out the port, like the charging port, because it had lint in there, and they didn't realize that it wasn't going all the way. That happened a lot. And so
Yeah.
I'd clean it out and I'd plug it in. They're like, oh, you fixed it. Like, holy cow. And they'd ask me like, how much do I owe you? And I'm like, oh no, don't worry about it. Like, I didn't do anything. like, don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
you're good to go. If you need anything else, let me know. I don't know how many times people would be like, yo, like someone told me, like, you know how to like take care of stuff really well. And like, they loved it when they came in and you helped them out. So like, I need to come over to this place and like see you. So
Yeah.
it definitely pays back. I feel like for me, it did a lot because people knew that I wasn't there to just, sell them or make money off of them. Like I didn't see him as a dollar sign. I saw him as an actual person that I wanted to help. So yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like after these 3 years, I guess, of business, do you feel like you achieved what you wanted
You
when
know
you got
what?
started?
Yeah, actually, I have achieved, well, since then I've achieved more than I guess more. When I first started, I was kind of limited on what I could see because I didn't understand a whole lot of the online world. I didn't understand a whole lot of that. I guess, I guess I wouldn't say I've achieved
Yeah.
what I was dreaming about totally, but I've accomplished, I feel like a lot more than I was even expecting to in a way. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun road. I really enjoy it, but
That's awesome.
I honestly didn't think I'd have an actual store within a year and a half.
Right.
I thought I'd take longer than that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I love what Steve Jobs says when he says you can only connect the dot backwards.
Yep.
And I'm sure, and it's some of the questions I totally want to ask. It's about like now that you connect the dots, you know what I mean? Like you've been through it once, and I'm sure you have a ton of things that pops in your mind when you talk about those stories. You're thinking like, oh, dude, I could have done this, or I should have done like this, right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the questions I want to get to. But first, I want to understand why did you stop, or why did you get out of retail? What happened?
You know what's funny is I started listening to this dude named Russell Brunson. That was a while. And it was my dream to go online. And what's funny is I actually sold the company in hopes of starting an online like business part. So what's funny is I don't know if you actually even know this, but I had met Steven Larson just like months before I was going through like the sell and transitioning over to working with them.
Oh yeah.
Just like just a few months before that even happened. And what's funny is like we were talking one day and we would talk a lot just on marketing stuff. I'm like, this guy actually gets it. Like I love it, And one day I was like, bro, do you know this guy named Russell Brunson? And he was like, dude, you know who Russell Brunson is? I'm like, yeah, I know who Russell Brunson is. And he's like, nobody knows who Russell Brunson is. This was before ClickFunnels,
Yeah.
So nobody really like, yeah, he had a following, but nobody around me knew who he was in college.
Right.
It just wasn't a thing then. And so we had gotten like, we were talking and I really wanted to start a smartphone insurance, like an online website for that.
Right.
And I had been talking to him and he's like, it's funny. I remember we were sitting down in his living room one day and we're talking and I know Steve, like, and in college, there's so many opportunities and so many things and so many people trying to get you to like selling you on doing something with them,
For sure.
And I was like, bro, you have like a talent for online stuff that I don't have yet. Like I'm working on it, And I was like, let me tell you about this business. And it's not like, it's funny. A lot of people think they're just going to like, people will steal your business idea, like
I know, right?
A lot of times you're the expert that they would need in order to accomplish it and pull it off. It doesn't happen like that, And so I'm like, let me tell you about this idea that I have. And so I kind of ran him through it and was telling him about like how I wanted to partner with repair stores across the US,
right?
But have it all online and it would just work online. I would never have any stock. I wouldn't have anything. It would all be taken care of locally. And so he was like, bro, this is awesome. And yeah, so we actually made a funnel. We actually started that. That was like our first funnel ever. Like Steve's first funnel ever.
That's
this like
awesome.
in ClickFunnels itself. And
That is awesome.
yeah, so that was my hopes, was to blow that up, make it huge. We like broke even, and it was cool.
That
And
is
then
great.
we just like shut it down. Yeah.
Well, and it makes total sense when you think about like repair. So I was thinking like a lot of the challenges I guess in retail is like having recurring customers and
Yeah.
putting somebody on a continuity program like insurance for phone repair. Like this is pretty freaking cool.
It was, yeah, it was a great idea. I loved it.
But yeah, no, I'm happy you mentioned Russell Brunson actually for in the second episode of this podcast.
Oh yeah.
I mentioned Russell Brunson and the thing he talks about, which is amateurs focus on the front end and professionals focus on the back end, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he tells the story of the Groupon, citysmart.com and the vacuum cleaner guy who had this ad on Citysmart and who complained about it working poorly because he didn't make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember this one that much. Keep
Okay.
going.
And it's such an amazing story because it's basically telling about how a lot in business we think everything we do to acquire customers is the final result.
Yeah.
But really the dude probably had 150 leads from there. Russell Brunson and his wife was one of the leads.
Oh wow.
And he hired him like 7 times after that. Right.
Yeah.
And the guy
Yeah.
was complaining about how it was a waste of time and money to do that ad. But really what was fueling his business was literally all the back end of all those people who came in, right, through that offer. And I have a feeling in brick and mortar businesses, it's huge, right? And we always see like the holiday sales and those stuff, and they're made to bring people in. But if you think about repair stores, one of the following problems people have is it's going to happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be as small as my little like charger thing is broken and you just need to clean it, right?
Yep.
And so, and I'm just bringing this up because first I like to bridge the fact that you brought in Russell Brunson and Steve Larson and that's awesome. I love it. And I think it brings a lot to think about when you have a local business and you can actually do stuff that are solving some problems that people have when they come in the first place. Right. But you can go further than just why they came in for.
Oh yeah.
And it is definitely really, really cool that was your second business then.
Yeah, it's true. Oh man, I wish it would have gone. Well, we didn't know quite nearly as much as we do now back then, but
yeah,
I wish it would have gone a little better than it did. But
yeah, no, for sure. And so this is really where the fun is for me. I'm really curious about this part.
oh yeah, okay.
Because we know that you got out of the business, but I'm very curious to see if you were to start again. What are some of the things you would do differently right away?
Ooh, interesting. If I were to restart the repair business, just not necessarily like a business, but the repair business.
Yeah, or I mean a local business.
Okay, a local, yes.
Business. Yeah.
I actually would have built a lot more hype than I did. So if you follow Jeff Walker, he has a book called Launch.
Yeah.
If you follow him, if you read that book, it helps you understand how businesses do their grand openings the right way. Like it's more online, but it totally applies for local as well. I wish I would have put way more like just emphasis and gone around and done the Dream 100 part with all those people like a lot earlier than I did. And
# Fire Festival.
Not that much. I'd make sure that I had things lined up. Oh, that's funny, dude. Yeah, that was pretty sad. Anyway, so yeah, I totally would have built up more of like the launch of the business, like the opening of it.
Yeah.
That way when it comes in, I would have had a more of a solid foundation for like just customers in general coming in and knowing about me. I would have done a lot more ads, different things locally as well. to kind of push it. But then also I wish I would have researched a little bit more about like how inventory, like kind of like how to like figure it out, right? Like how to not only manage it, but like
Leverage it.
Yeah, leverage it. And know, like, I wish I would have looked at other people's like businesses that applied to mine more. So I'd have better ideas, better like kind of direction on where I'm going. It's so funny.
Sure.
Like you were saying, Steve Jobs says you can always connect the dots backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, you can't really connect them forward because you don't know where the heck you're going.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like there's a saying on the internet marketing world with like Russell and Steve, get a coach, be a coach, like want to get a coach. And part of like looking at those other people's businesses where they are at is almost like getting a coach and kind of seeing the dots that got them to where they're at.
Yeah.
And if you can get a coach that's ahead of you, farther ahead of you, they've already, they can look backwards on those dots.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't look forward to where they're at so easily. And so if you get their direction, they can say, hey, I've been at that same point that you're at. I can help you connect the dots to get to where I'm at.
Totally.
Instead of just me shooting from the hip, trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing, and like, I had kind of an idea of what to stock.
Yeah.
Because I'd been doing it, and I only really stocked like the iPhone parts before I started like the actual brick and mortar. And I thought it was smart to stock more. And that was a total just dumb idea, really, to do that. So if I would have seen that, it would have helped me revenue a ton more and be able to put more into not inventory, but more into marketing, more into growing the business.
Totally.
I was putting more into marketing or more into inventory than I was marketing. And that's a huge mistake.
For sure.
So I would have done a lot more marketing. I would have done a lot more, because a lot of times we have this like limiting, like mind, like belief that there's only so many customers out there, when in reality, there's way more than you even realize. So, yeah.
And so much applicable for when you're local.
Oh yeah, totally. They think, oh, I'm local. Like it's small. Like there's not a whole lot of people out there. There's a lot more than you think there are.
Yeah.
And if you can be that attractive character and like market the right way instead of just, hey, come buy from me, like so much better. So much better.
Guys, I totally need to put some resources links in for this interview because you mentioned Jeff Walker and the attractive character and all those stuff are just actually so relevant to building a business, rather online or offline. And it's it is big.
I'm sure you've talked about expert secrets as part of like attractive character. That's
totally
right there.
Expert secrets. .com secrets is actually very interesting when you think about it, because it's supposedly the underground playbook for a business online, but really it is much more applicable also offline than we think.
I literally read that like right after I'd sold the business. Makes me mad, but that's right when it came out, I wish I would have read it way before that.
This is probably the one book that I had epiphany after epiphany after epiphany.
It's just straight gold, bro. Like
crazy. It made me rethink the whole business game. Super interesting. I have a bunch of little questions, rapid fire question love to ask you. And totally. So one thing I guess could be, what is a piece of advice you have given the most or would give, and why? To business owners.
To business owners?
Entrepreneurs, yeah.
Man, I feel like I've given so many different ones. Kind of thinking on the context of this interview, though, honestly, kind of what I just said a little bit earlier is find those who are successful and model them. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Find somebody who's been on the path that you want to go on. I mean, I guess that's actually pretty much what I preach on like my podcast, even like I try to give people information on there about experts in certain areas of business so that they know who to go to. And I
Yeah.
think that's key because like I said, the coach, you know, like they know, they've seen the path. You have no idea. You're just one foot at a time trying to get there. And so I totally say find somebody who's super successful in it,
Mm-hmm.
figure out why, and try to model it.
Yeah, totally. And that's pretty much what happened when you got, I guess, when you sold the business in. You had somebody who came in with more experience and showed you ways to do that you didn't think about, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea that when I saw it, I was like, what the heck have I been doing? Like, you know how much better this would have been? Like, oh man. Yeah.
I could have sold this business for twice more.
I know, right? Like I honestly did not make like very much at all on that sell. And it was a very big learning experience. I'll just say that. So yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
you know, learn from your experiences. That's what I always say. So
Yeah, for sure. Any bad recommendations you heard in your profession or industry?
ooh. Any bad you know what? You know what's funny to me? I'll tell this in a little bit of a story. So as I was in college, um, I actually was literally going to school in business. Like my degree was in business management, and my emphasis was in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like, so I was literally going to be an entrepreneur, which is kind of funny because like college isn't really like entrepreneurially like focused. I don't know. I learned a lot. I did. I didn't learn like a ton of the marketing skills that are out there now. But what's funny is people would ask me, they'd be like, hey, like, what's your name? You know, like, oh, I'm Coulton, whatever. Like, where are you from? You know, all those questions. And then they'd be like, well, what's your degree? You know, what are you going into? And I'd be like, oh, business management. And they're like, oh yeah, like what's your emphasis? Well, entrepreneurship. And dude, I don't know how many times they would look at me and be like, entrepreneurship? Like, really? And like, I'd kind of get that like look like, oh man, I'm so sorry for you right now. Like this is kind of like the pity look, you know, like, oh,
Yeah.
you got entrepreneurship. Like that's going to suck, you know? And they would literally like, no joke, they would say this to my face. They'd be like, oh, don't you know that like 90% of businesses fail?
Thanks.
And I'm like, you're seriously telling me this right now? Like, you don't think I know that? Like, you know? And honestly, if you look at the numbers, 90% of them are like some, you know, mom and dad that just started a business for their house or, you know, whatever, like, and then they shut it down. So there's a ton of the little startups that people are dreaming and then don't really work at it. But it like, at first it like bugged me, you know, I'm like, holy cow, they're right. Sure. Like 90% of businesses fail. Like, what am I doing? You know, like, like I only got a 10% chance, you know, and then like a 1% ever make it past like the million, you know? And so like that got to me at first. And then I remember one day I was thinking about it. I was like, wait a second. Like I would way rather be at the top and know when the business is going to fail. But then literally what I would say back to people, and I loved it. I loved saying this. I don't know why. Like because man, nobody ever thinks about like the next thing. They always think, oh, well, based on what I know and the statistic, 90% of businesses fail, right? They never think about like what that means for them. They just know they want to give you the advice. And so I would literally look at them and be like, oh, don't you know you're going to be working for one of those 90%? Like, dude, like, do you not like, what do you will work for a business. If you get a job, it's a business. Yeah. And if you say 90% of them fail, that's no different for me and you. Like, it's no different.
Chance you lose your job.
Yeah. And like, I would way rather be at the top because it's a pyramid. Yeah. I would way rather be at the top and know when it's going down and have the choice to change it and like try to get it from not failing or know when to get out. You know what I mean? And like
this is awesome.
More on top of it. So yeah, that's my.
This is awesome. So a bad recommendation you got was don't do it.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, no, like you can't do that. Like businesses fail, and I'm like, obviously not all of them. Like people have there have to be entrepreneurs for there to be businesses in the world.
And jobs,
It's, I mean, we wouldn't have any businesses if people were too scared to even start one, you know? But there's going to be so many people that are just going to say, oh, well, I know based on these numbers, or my cousin who has no idea what he's doing in business, I know that it doesn't work. So you should.
yeah.
So don't listen to people. Like, if they haven't done it, or if they're not making a ton of money and they're very respected, I would not listen to them, because you're going to get the poor mentality a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agreed. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this podcast is literally about talking to the people who do the work, and and not the rest. And there is a lot of content out there.
Oh yeah, there's a ton, and you're gonna get told a lot of stuff that,
yeah,
find somebody who's actually doing it, making it. So
for sure. I know I find myself a lot of time in situations when I get super overwhelmed, and when I get overwhelmed and unfocused, I get nothing done, and that makes me really sad. What's some of the thing you do when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost focus? Like, what do you do to get it back, or I get reset?
So there's a few hacks that I have. It still happens. There's still days when I can't like get past it. Yeah, totally. Everybody's gonna have those days. You're human. It's just, There's a few hacks though. We listen to a ton of music, because music, you know what's funny? I just wrote this quote down actually. All learning is state dependent. And I think all work is also state dependent.
All right.
It's really interesting. Like, if you like even just slouching back in your chair and like kind of, you'll naturally like kind of have, it's almost like the endorphins are released for like, endorphins, but like the chemicals are released for like, I need to get tired because I'm like slouching. But when you got high energy music going on, a lot of time we listen to higher beat music that keeps us going. There's a lot of it is what you eat as well. If you're eating some crappy stuff during the day, I feel like crap after I eat a pizza, you know, like that's just natural. But one thing that me and Steve do every day that's kind of interesting is every morning we drink ketones. So there's like keto supplements out there. So we literally every morning drink ketones, and we try not to eat until like noonish, and then we have more of like a balanced meal. Because I don't know how many times back in the day when I was in like high school, like, oh, I'm gonna go grab a pizza for lunch, you know, like eat the whole thing, I'm okay. And then I'm like just dragging afterwards, like dying because my my like insulin's getting pumped out like crazy, and like my whole body's just shutting down because my stomach needs all the blood flow, you know what I mean? Like, so
totally.
That's like one of the biggest like hacks we do is making sure that you're not putting yourself in the situations that's going to cause the energy drop. But
totally.
State
Prevent instead of repair, right? Like
exactly, man.
Yeah,
it's true. So totally.
Makes sense. What's a thing you love to go buy from the store directly? What's the one thing you like to go buy from the store? You know, Amazon is big, but what do you still go do and you love, you know, that thing is your thing. You love to buy it there.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good question. This is kind of bad. I had to like stop this for a while, but I would literally like, I love switching it up and changing like mundane, everything's the same kind of days drive me nuts. So I love to switch it up every now and then. If we're like really diving and we can't get state back up, I'll head to the convenience store or wherever, you know, and just like get out, get some sun or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But like my total crutch, like my kryptonite is literally like I pick up like an energy drink like, a lot of the time. So awesome. Like, and you know, a lot of times I don't feel like caffeine actually affects me that much. I do drink a little bit of it, so maybe that's why it doesn't affect me, because I drink it a lot anyway. But I just, for some reason, like that's my, and don't get sugared ones. This is sugar free, 100%. Like, you know,
right? Yeah.
But like, I just will go pick up something to drink, you know, that's not super bad for you, even though plenty of people would say energy is bad for you, which I totally actually agree in a way. So
No, but I get it.
Best I found. So
yeah, that's awesome. What's Coulton up to?
And what am I up to?
Yeah,
dude, a lot of things right now. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, me and Stephen Larson work together. We do this stuff, which is funny that we met in college, split up, and then came back together. Yeah. So right now, honestly, like I do a lot of the operations part for Stephen on his side of the business. I run a lot of the, we have a whole nother side that teaches MLMers how to, actually do it without bugging their friends and family, how to actually market. I manage like all of that. The group, like I do the lives in there, do all that stuff. And then honestly, other than that, like, I have my own podcast that I keep doing. And I'm trying to start a second one, which I don't even know how I'm going to have the time for it, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, look, because you guys pushed me to start so much, I'll say you should start it too. The second one.
Yeah. I've already got a bunch of the content like recorded and getting it together. So I'm excited.
That is great.
Good, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So the next big thing is the podcast coming up soon.
Yeah.
Cool. And what is the impact that you would love to have in this world or in your neighborhood?
That's actually funny because I've been trying to get clearer and clearer on that. And I think one of the things that drives me that I would love to have an impact on is literally not helping, but showing the beginners, a lot of the people who are getting started online, that they're really the person that's in the way. And helping them understand. It's hard to say this because I don't want to get into mindset stuff too much, but like, you dictate how you're going to end up going. Like what you believe you can accomplish has a lot to do with what you actually accomplish. And so if I can help people get past their own crap and like understand how much they can actually do and actually accomplish, like that would mean a ton to me, to help people go farther than they think they can.
Totally. And that's something you already do. So that's great that you get to do it more and more. And I'm sure you'll be able to help a ton more people.
Dude, I hope so. Yeah.
What's a good place people can find more about you?
You can find me on Instagram, and my name's super weird wherever you, not super weird, but it's spelled different. So it's Coulton. It's Coulton. A lot of people drop the U. And in fact, a lot of times I even spell it without the U because people like, I don't want to have the conversation every time I say my name, So you can find me on Instagram. It's Coulton.woods. My podcast is Learning from the Experts. Find me on Facebook, wherever, like I'm pretty available on a lot of the social platforms there. So
awesome. And I'll definitely drop some links in the transcripts, the blog post for this episode, so that people can actually find the stuff, with the U, without the U, and yeah, totally.
Yeah. Don't forget the U.
Don't forget the U. Thanks so much, man, for showing up on this interview. It was a blast, and I'm happy I finally got to hear the story of Coulton.
You didn't know I was in retail at all, did you?
I didn't know.
Oh, it's funny. It's all good, dude. No worries. I'm glad we got to meet up a little more, and
Totally.
Are you looking to jumpstart your business by learning or getting help from the real experts? Go to learningfromtheexperts.com to find pre-approved experts that I've handpicked for you. Please don't forget to let me know how I'm doing by subscribing, rating, and leaving feedback.